The power of silence. Stoicism, Machiavelli, and the psychology of quiet power. People think power belongs to the loudest person in the room, the one who argues the hardest, the one who always has something to say. But history, human psychology, and philosophy tell a very different story. The Stoics believed emotional control was the highest form of strength, and Machiavelli understood something dangerous about human nature. The less people know about your mind, the harder you are to control. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. And in this video, you'll discover 10 situations where silence becomes your greatest weapon in relationships, business, conflict, and modern society itself. Watch carefully, because once you understand this, you'll never react the same way again. 1. Silence during arguments. The first person who loses emotional control loses. Imagine arguing with someone who wants a reaction from you. Your partner raises their voice. They accuse you. They expect anger, defensiveness, emotion. But instead, you remain calm. You say nothing for a few seconds. Suddenly, the energy changes. Why? Because emotional people feed off emotional responses. Arguments are like fire. Both sides keep adding fuel. But silence removes oxygen from the flame. Stoicism teaches us you cannot always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. And psychologically, the calm person almost always appears stronger. Not because they won, but because they remained in control of themselves. 2. Silence against insults and online bullies. Nothing confuses a manipulator more than no reaction. The internet is filled with people desperate for attention. Some insult others just to provoke emotion, because attention, even negative attention, makes them feel powerful. Imagine someone attacking you publicly online, mocking you, trying to embarrass you. Most people react immediately. They defend themselves. They argue. They become emotional. And without realizing it, they hand over control. But silence changes everything. When you refuse to react emotionally, the bully begins looking foolish instead, because now they are fighting alone. Machiavelli believed emotionally reactive people are easy to manipulate. Why? Because once someone controls your emotions, they control your actions. Sometimes the strongest revenge is complete indifference. Through silence in negotiations. Whoever speaks too much loses leverage. This is one of the oldest psychological tactics in business. Imagine negotiating your salary. You confidently say, "My experience and skills are worth $5,000. And then, silence. Most people panic during silence. They start over-explaining. They lower their value. They begin negotiating against themselves. But experienced negotiators stay quiet, because silence creates pressure. The other person begins thinking, calculating, doubting, and many times they increase the offer themselves. In business, words can reduce value. Silence can increase it. 4. Silence after success. Move in silence. One of the biggest mistakes people make is announcing everything too early. Their dreams, their plans, their opportunities, their relationships. But Machiavelli warned that success attracts hidden envy. Not everyone smiling at you is happy for you. Some people secretly compete with you. Others wait for your failure. And some study your weaknesses while pretending to support you. That's why powerful people often move quietly. They announce results, not intentions. Silence protects momentum, and privacy is sometimes protection. 5. Silence in relationships. Not every emotion deserves immediate expression. Modern relationships are drowning in impulsive reactions. One delayed message becomes panic. One misunderstanding becomes a fight. One emotional moment destroys years of connection. But emotionally mature people understand timing. Sometimes silence allows emotions to cool down. Imagine trying to solve a problem while angry. You say things you don't mean. They react emotionally. Now both people are wounded. But silence creates space for wisdom, space for reflection, space for emotional control. Stoicism never taught emotional suppression. It taught emotional discipline. There's a difference. Sometimes the most mature thing you can say is, "I need time before we continue this conversation." That silence can save relationships. 6. Silence in a room full of people. Quiet people notice everything. The loudest people in the room often reveal the most about themselves, their insecurities, their ego, their need for validation. But the quiet person observes. In meetings, social gatherings, business environments, silence becomes information. You notice who interrupts people, who seeks attention, who lies, who dominates conversations out of insecurity. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Information is power, and people reveal information constantly when they talk too much. A silent person becomes difficult to predict, and unpredictability creates psychological advantage. 7. Silence after betrayal. Not every betrayal deserves closure. Some people hurt you, then expect access to your emotions afterward. They expect arguments, begging, tears, explanations. But silence can become self-respect. Imagine discovering betrayal from someone you trusted deeply. Instead of chasing them, you quietly walk away. No drama, no revenge speech, no emotional breakdown. That silence sends a terrifying message. I know my value. And sometimes your absence teaches people more than your words ever could. 8. Silence before making big decisions. Emotion is expensive. Modern society rewards impulsiveness, instant reactions, instant anger, instant decisions. But Stoics practiced pause because temporary emotions create permanent consequences. Imagine receiving a hateful message late at night. Your emotions say, reply immediately. But wisdom says, wait. The next morning, your perspective changes completely. Silence creates distance between emotion and action, and that distance can save careers, relationships, and lives. 9. Silence as mystery. People fear what they cannot read. Human beings are uncomfortable with uncertainty. We naturally want to know what others think, how they feel, what they plan to do. But silence creates mystery, and mystery creates power. Notice how some people become nervous around quiet individuals, not because quiet people are dangerous, but because they are difficult to predict. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. Predictable people are controllable people, but when you reveal less, people begin imagining more. And imagination is often stronger than reality itself. 10. Silence during provocation. Control yourself, or someone else will. Some people intentionally provoke others for entertainment. At work, online, even in relationships. They push emotional buttons to gain control. The moment you explode emotionally, they win, because now your emotions belong to them. But silence destroys their strategy. A calm face during provocation is psychological strength. It communicates discipline, confidence, control. Anyone can react emotionally. Very few people can remain composed under pressure, and that is true power. If you're enjoying this deep dive into psychology, stoicism, and human nature, take a second to subscribe to the channel, because in a world full of noise, very few people are learning the power of calmness. And trust me, understanding human psychology can completely change your life. Final message: silence is not empty. The world teaches people to constantly react, constantly explain themselves, constantly prove themselves. But wisdom often sounds like silence. The Stoics understood that mastering yourself is the highest form of power. And Machiavelli understood that the less predictable you are, the harder you are to defeat. Because silence does three powerful things. It protects your emotions, it reveals other people, and it gives you control over yourself. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this carefully. Not every battle deserves your words. Sometimes the most powerful statement is silence. Subscribe for more videos on dark psychology, stoicism, human behavior, and the hidden truths about power. Because the calm mind always wins.